Cancer. I want to begin by describing a specific feeling, and I want you to notice whether it matches something that has been happening inside you. The feeling is the experience of carrying a question without quite being able to articulate the question. You have been doing this for some time. The question lives somewhere underneath your daily activities, occasionally surfacing in unguarded moments, never quite resolving into a sentence you could speak out loud. The question has to do with a person, not a specific person you have already met, although you may have wondered if certain people you have encountered might be the answer. A person who has not yet appeared in a form you would recognize as definitive, but whose existence you have been intuiting for longer than you have been admitting to yourself. I want to tell you what I am picking up about that person, and I want to do it by working backward from who they will be when you know them to who they are now in the period before the encounter occurs. Years from now, when you and this person have settled into the rhythm of a shared life, there will be a particular evening that becomes one of your touchstones. Not because anything dramatic happens on that evening. The opposite, because nothing dramatic happens. The two of you will be doing something ordinary together, cooking, perhaps, or sitting somewhere quiet. And there will be a moment when you look up and register with a kind of soft clarity that this is your life now, that the person across from you is the person you live this life with, that the ordinariness of the moment is exactly what you have been waiting for, even though you did not know during the waiting that ordinariness was what you wanted. You thought, more dramatic markers. You wanted certainty. You wanted obvious signs. What you actually wanted underneath all of that was the possibility of an evening like the one I am describing. An evening so ordinary that it could not be a performance. An evening so rooted that the rootedness itself was the meaning. That evening is in your future. The person who will share it with you is real. They are approaching. I want to come backward from that future evening, through the years that lie between now and then, into the present moment. The years between will contain the development of the relationship, the recognition of each other, the early conversations, the first time you traveled together, the first conflict and how it resolved, the decision to share more of your lives, the integration of your worlds. The moments of difficulty that did not break the connection, the moments of joy that you did not anticipate, all of that lies between now and the ordinary evening I described. It is the substance of the relationship. The relationship is not just the ordinary evening. The relationship is the path that gets you there. The path is what is being prepared. The first step on that path is the meeting itself, which is the part of this reading I most want to address. Because the meeting is what is approaching now, and the meeting is what your nervous system is reacting to without yet knowing what it is reacting to. I want to tell you about the meeting in a way that gives you what you need without telling you so much that the telling interferes with the natural occurrence of it. So I will describe the meeting in terms of its quality rather than its specifics. The specifics need to remain available to the unfolding. The meeting will have a quality of mutual attention that, in retrospect, you will recognize as unusual. Most encounters between strangers involve a low level of mutual attention. People glance, exchange a few words, move on. The meeting I am describing will involve a higher level. Both of you, in the moment of meeting, will pay more attention to each other than the situation would predict. Neither of you will fully understand why. There will be an extra second of looking, an extra moment of listening, an extra effort on both sides to remember the encounter even after it has passed. These small surplus attentions are what mark the meeting as significant. You will not feel a thunderbolt. You will feel an extra second. The extra second is the signal. After the meeting, there will be a stretch of time during which the two of you carry each other in your minds without yet having formed a definite plan to see each other again. This stretch is significant. During it, both of you will be processing what occurred without having full access to what it was. You will think about them at moments that have nothing to do with them. They will think about you at moments that have nothing to do with you. The thinking will not yet be focused. It will have the quality of a song stuck in the mind, present without being fully attended to. This stage of carrying each other privately, before any active engagement, is part of how the connection establishes itself. The carrying produces a readiness in both of you to engage when the next opportunity arises. When the next opportunity arises, one of you will take a small action, a message, a reason to be in the same context again, a small, deniable reaching that could be interpreted multiple ways. The other will notice the reaching internally and will respond at a similar low intensity. Both of you will be testing the water without committing. This early testing phase is important. It allows the connection to grow at a sustainable pace rather than burning hot and fading. The pace will feel slow to one part of you and exactly right to another part. Listen to the part that says it is exactly right. The slow part of the building is the strong part. The pace is what makes the eventual integration possible. I want to take a moment to address the title of this reading, which contains the instruction to stop overthinking. The instruction is well-meaning, but I want to refine it slightly. Stopping overthinking is not the same as stopping thinking. You will need to think about this connection as it develops. You will need to make decisions. You will need to assess things. The thinking is fine. What needs to stop is a particular variant of thinking that has been operating in you, which I will call premature interpretation. Premature interpretation is when you take a small piece of information and build an elaborate scenario around it, projecting the small piece into a much larger picture before the larger picture is actually visible. This kind of thinking does not produce useful conclusions. It produces anxiety. The anxiety then drives behavior that is not aligned with the actual situation, which then produces outcomes that are different from what they would have been if the anxiety had not interfered. The discipline I am suggesting is to notice when you are about to interpret prematurely and to gently set down the interpretation, returning to the actual texture of what is in front of you. This is Cancer Tarot, and I want to walk you through how this discipline applies in the specific context of meeting a future partner. After the meeting occurs, your mind is going to want to do one of two things, perhaps both. It is going to want to immediately decide whether this person is the one. And it is going to want to immediately decide whether this person is going to be a disappointment. Neither of these decisions can be made accurately at this stage. The information needed to make either decision is not yet available. You will be tempted to make the decisions anyway, because uncertainty is uncomfortable, and decisions reduce uncertainty. But premature decisions produce inaccurate conclusions, and inaccurate conclusions produce misaligned behavior. The discipline is to remain in the uncertainty, neither concluding that this is everything nor concluding that this is nothing, while you gather the actual data that the unfolding interaction provides. The data will come. It will not come on the timeline your impatience requests, but it will come. I want to share something specific about who this person is going to turn out to be in terms of how their presence will change the texture of your daily life. They are going to be someone who fits into your existence rather than someone who demands that you reorganize your existence around them. This is significant. Some relationships require a kind of accommodation that produces over time a sense of compromise that erodes the relationship from within. The relationship that is approaching does not require that kind of accommodation. The two of you fit in a structural sense in a way that allows both of you to remain who you are while also being together. Your existing commitments, friendships, work, projects will continue. They will not be displaced. They will be enriched in many cases by the addition of this person, but they will not be replaced by it. This is the structure of a sustainable partnership. The relationship sits among the other elements of your life rather than in place of them. I want to address something about the texture of the connection that I think is going to surprise you in a particular way. There is going to be a quality of comfort in their presence that you have not associated with new relationships. New relationships, in your experience, have tended to involve a period of nervous anticipation, of self-monitoring, of trying to figure out how you are landing. With this person, that period will be much shorter than usual. The nervous anticipation will downshift quickly, perhaps even within the first conversation, into something closer to comfort. The comfort is not a sign of the connection being insignificant. It is a sign of the connection being well matched. People who are well matched experience less of the friction that produces nervous self-monitoring. The absence of friction does not mean the absence of substance. It means the presence of fit. You may need to reframe your sense of what a meaningful new connection feels like, because your previous frame may have been calibrated to less aligned situations. I want to mention something about how this person sees you, because it is a feature of the connection that will reveal itself early and that will mean a great deal to you. They see you accurately. They do not project onto you. They do not need you to be a certain way for their own purposes. They see in you what is actually there, and they respond to what is actually there rather than to a version of you constructed in their mind. This kind of seeing is rarer than people realize. Most relationships involve a significant amount of projection on both sides, with each party reacting to a version of the other that exists in their own head rather than in shared reality. The accuracy of this person's perception is going to feel at first unfamiliar. You may not initially know how to receive it. You are used to being seen partially or inaccurately or through the filter of someone else's needs. Being seen accurately will be a different experience. It will require you to be more present in the connection because there will be no projection to hide behind. The presence required will, however, become one of the most valued features of the relationship over time. Being known accurately is one of the deepest pleasures of partnership, and you are about to access it. I want to address something about your own readiness, because I sense some part of you is unsure whether you are actually ready for this. The unsureness is understandable. Significant connections require a kind of inner preparation that does not always feel like preparation while it is happening. You have been undergoing this preparation. You may not have recognized it as such. The work you have been doing on yourself, the relationships you have ended that needed to end, the patterns you have begun to release, the clarity you have developed about what you actually want. All of these have been the preparation. They have produced in you the capacity to recognize the right person when they arrive and to engage with them at the level the connection requires. You are ready. The readiness may not feel certain to you. It is certain enough. You do not need to feel completely ready in order to be ready. You only need to be more ready than you were, and you are. The connection will activate the rest of the readiness as it develops. I want to mention a particular concern that may be operating underneath your reception of this kind of message. There is a part of you that wonders whether you might miss the meeting, whether you might be too distracted, too tired, too caught up in something else to recognize what is happening when it happens. I want to address this concern directly. The meeting will not require unusual alertness on your part. It is structured to break through whatever state you are in. Even if you are distracted, the encounter will register. Even if you are tired, the connection will be felt. Even if you are not having your best day, something about the meeting will mark itself in your awareness in a way that you will remember. The universe has built this meeting with redundancy. It does not depend on your perfect reception. It will arrive in a form that finds you wherever you are. I want to describe a particular phenomenon that occurs in the early phase of connections of this kind. It is called the moment of recognition. After the initial meeting, after the early reaching, after the testing of the water, there will be a moment when both of you simultaneously recognize that this is something. Neither of you will say it out loud at that moment. It will be a moment of internal acknowledgement, perhaps occurring during a conversation, perhaps during a silence, perhaps during a small interaction that, on its surface, contains nothing remarkable. After this moment, the relationship will be different, even if neither of you mentions the moment. The deniability that characterized the earlier phase will be gone. Both of you will be operating with the assumption that this matters. You may then have a conversation about it in some form, although you may not. Some couples articulate the recognition, others simply behave from it. Either pattern works. The recognition itself is the threshold. Once you are past it, you are in a different kind of relationship. I want to share something I am sensing about the timing of all of this. The meeting is closer than you would currently estimate. Within the period this reading is meant to address, the encounter will take place. You may want a more specific marker. I am not going to give you one, partly because I do not have one with the kind of precision that would warrant offering it, and partly because attaching too tightly to specific markers tends to interfere with how these things actually unfold. What I can tell you is that the energy is active now. The conditions are converging. Whatever pieces had to be in place for this to happen are now substantially in place. You are inside the window. The window is open. The crossing of the threshold is imminent in a sense that is meaningful even without specific dates. I want to take a moment to describe what kind of life this connection produces, because I think the description will help you orient. The life you will have with this person is not a fantasy life. It is a real life with real elements, real practical questions, real moments of difficulty alongside the moments of joy. I do not want to mislead you about this. The relationship is good, but it is not a removal from ordinary human life. It is a deepening into ordinary human life with someone who is well suited to share it with you. The good is in the deepening, not in the removal. People sometimes hope that the right partner will lift them out of the conditions of being human. The right partner does the opposite. The right partner allows you to be more fully human, with less performance, with less defense, with less translation. The fullness is the gift. The gift is sustainable because it is not based on illusion. I want to mention something specific about how your daily decisions are going to be affected once the relationship is established. You will start to make choices with two people in mind rather than one. This is one of the natural consequences of significant partnership, and it is also one of the things that takes adjustment. You have been making choices for one for a long time. The shift to making choices for two is not always smooth. There will be small moments of friction in this shift. Old habits of solo decision making will collide with new habits of shared decision making. Both of you will experience this. The friction is not a sign of the relationship being wrong. It is a sign of two well-formed individuals learning to coordinate. Be patient with the friction. Discuss it openly when it arises. The discussions are part of how the partnership develops the joint decision-making capacity that long-term relationships require. Here on Cancer Tarot, I want to address the question of what kind of work the partnership will require of you, because it is going to require some, even though it is well matched, the work will primarily involve the practice of receiving the love that is being offered to you without minimizing it, without deflecting it, without immediately giving back something equivalent in order to balance the books. People who have been used to giving more than they receive sometimes have difficulty accepting being on the receiving end of significant love. They feel uncomfortable with the imbalance. They generate ways to immediately repay, which prevents the gift from fully landing. The practice with this person will be to allow yourself to be loved, to allow yourself to be cared for, to allow yourself to be the recipient without immediate reciprocity. Reciprocity will occur naturally over time in its own forms. But in the moment of receiving, the practice is to receive. The practice is harder than it sounds. You can develop it. The relationship will require its development. The development will be one of the most healing things you have done. I want to mention something about how the people in your life will respond to this relationship. Your closest people will be happy for you in ways that surprise you with their warmth. Some of them have been rooting for this longer than you knew. They have been watching you wait, watching you navigate, watching you grow into the readiness, and they will receive the news of this relationship with a quiet joy that reflects their long-held hopes for you. Other people in your life may have more complicated reactions. Some may not initially understand what you see in this person. Some may have to adjust their assumptions about who you are. Most of these complicated reactions will resolve over time as the people involved come to understand the relationship better. A few may not resolve, in which case those relationships will recede in importance. None of these adjustments are your responsibility to manage with effort. Let people respond as they respond. Stay close to those whose responses are clean. Allow distance to develop with those whose responses are tangled. The redistribution will sort itself. I want to share something about how the relationship will affect your sense of yourself. Being known accurately and loved consistently changes a person, not in dramatic ways, in quiet, accumulating ways. You will become slightly more confident in moments when you used to be uncertain. You will articulate yourself slightly more clearly in situations where you used to defer. You will say no slightly more easily to things that do not fit. You will say yes slightly more wholeheartedly to things that do. The accumulating effect of these small shifts will be a self that is more itself than the self you have been. This is one of the deeper rewards of significant partnership. The right partnership does not absorb you. It releases you into more of your own existence. The releasing is a slow process, but it is real, and you will feel it over time as a kind of expanding into yourself that you had not known was available. I want to address a particular fear that may be running in the background. The fear is that something this good cannot be sustainable, that if it arrives, it will eventually be lost, that you will get what you want and then have it taken away. This fear is common among people who have experienced significant losses in the past. The protective psyche generates worst-case scenarios as a way of preparing for the possibility of pain. I do not want to dismiss this fear. It is doing its job. But I want to gently suggest that it does not need to do its job at the intensity it is currently operating at. The relationship that is approaching is structured to last. The structure does not guarantee anything because nothing in human life is guaranteed, but the structure is solid. It is built on foundations that do not commonly collapse. You can let yourself receive it without preemptively grieving its loss. The grieving is not necessary. The grieving may in fact interfere with the receiving. Set down the grieving. The relationship will likely outlast many things. Receive it as a gift that is meant to stay. I want to share a particular practice that may help you in the period before the meeting occurs. When the overthinking begins, when the analytical mind starts running scenarios about what is going to happen and when, gently turn your attention to the present moment of your actual life. Look around the space you are in. Notice the texture of what is happening right now. Engage with whatever is actually in front of you. The practice is not to suppress the overthinking. The practice is to gently de-emphasize it by giving the present moment more of your attention. Over time, the proportion of your attention given to the present rather than to scenario running will shift. The shift is itself preparation. People who live more in the present moment recognize meaningful encounters more easily because they are actually paying attention to what is in front of them when the encounter occurs. The practice of returning to the present is the practice of preparing to recognize. I want to mention something about the period right before you meet this person. There will be a few weeks during which your life will feel slightly emptier than usual, even if nothing has obviously changed. This is normal. It is the energetic equivalent of inhaling before speaking. The emptiness is the space being made for what is about to enter. Do not interpret the emptiness as a problem. Do not try to fill it preemptively with substitutes that do not actually fit. Allow the emptiness. The emptiness is the doorway. Through the doorway, the meeting comes. After the meeting, the emptiness will be filled, gradually, with the substance of the connection. But the substance can only enter the space that is left empty for it. Your willingness to tolerate the emptiness is part of how you make yourself available to what is coming. There is a small intuitive instruction I want to give you. When you are next in a public space, perhaps in the next several days, notice the texture of your attention. Notice whether your attention is open or closed. Notice whether you are looking at people or past them. Without forcing anything, allow your attention to be slightly more open than it has been. Not in a needy or seeking way, just in a generally available way. The slight increase in availability is part of how you allow the encounter to find you. The universe responds to availability. It does not respond as readily to seeking, which has a quality of grasping that can repel what it is trying to reach. Available is not the same as seeking. Available is calmer, less desperate, less hopeful in the wishful sense. Be available. The availability does its work without your having to perform it. Here on Cancer Tarot, I want to address one more dimension of what is approaching, which is the relationship between this connection and your sense of meaning. The partnership will become, over time, one of the foundations of how you understand the meaning of your life. Not the only foundation. You will have other foundations as well. But this one will be significant. You will look back eventually and recognize that meeting this person was one of the load-bearing events of your existence. Not in a way that overshadows everything else, in a way that supports everything else. The relationship will be a context within which the rest of your life can flourish. The flourishing is the larger gift. The relationship is the structure that supports the flourishing. Receive the structure when it arrives and trust that it will hold you through whatever the rest of your life brings. I want to leave you with one final orientation. The meeting that is approaching is not a fantasy you have constructed to soothe yourself in difficult moments. It is a real future event. Real future events have their own rhythm, their own shape, their own arrival. They cannot be willed into being earlier than their natural moment. They cannot be prevented if they are meant to occur. They simply arrive on the schedule that is correct for them, in the form that is correct for them. The meeting that is approaching is one of these. You do not have to manage it. You only have to live with attention and openness until it occurs. The living is the entire preparation. There is no further preparation required. Stop overthinking in the specific sense I described. Allow your mind to think when thinking is useful. Do not allow it to construct scenarios in advance of available data. Stay present. Stay available. Stay yourself in your full particularity without making yourself smaller in anticipation of what others might prefer. The version of you that this person is going to fall in love with is the version of you that exists when you are being yourself. Be that version. The being is the entire practice. You are about to meet someone who will know you, will love you, will share their life with you. The life you will share will be ordinary in many ways and extraordinary in others, with the ordinariness being part of what makes the extraordinariness real. The relationship will deepen across years. It will mature into a partnership that becomes one of the central facts of your continuing existence. This is not a fantasy, it is a real future. It is approaching. You are exactly where you need to be in relation to it. The position you are standing in is the right position. The work you have been doing is the right work. The waiting you have been doing is the right waiting. All of it has been correct. All of it has been preparing you. The preparation is now nearly complete. The next step is the meeting. The meeting is closer than your skepticism would estimate. After the meeting, the rest unfolds in its own time, at its own pace, with its own particular texture. You do not need to manage any of it. You only need to be present when each phase arrives and to engage with what is actually happening at the level of the actual moment. The engagement is your contribution. The rest is given. You are ready. The threshold is approaching. The crossing is imminent. Walk through the next stretch of your life with your hands a little more open than you have been holding them. The hands need to be open for what is coming. The opening is the practice. The hands are the receivers. The receiving is the gift. Let it begin. Let yourself finally, after everything, be the person at the threshold of the chapter you have been preparing for. The chapter is real. The chapter is yours. The chapter is approaching. Meet it with the calm certainty of someone who has done their work and can now afford to receive the answer to the question they have been holding for a long time. The answer is good. The answer is coming. Open the door.